What's up, everybody? It's Fireplace Friday. I'm Jeremy, your host, coming from the Flues Brothers World Headquarters. It's been a little while since I posted. Apologize, but I think last time I posted, I still had this going on. So I had some foot surgery done, and if any of you know me, it's very hard for me to watch a lot of TV and sit around. So it's been a complicated time, but hey, it needed to be done, and it could have been worse. You know, all the other positive things we want to talk about with that. So we're on the mend. Hopefully, just have this boot for another couple weeks, and I can start being a little even more mobile since I've got the old Scooter 1000 over there, and it works pretty well. So, what do we want to talk about today? What we want to talk about is about a week ago, storms came through Kansas City, and it was amazing. And we had some back-to-backs, but there was one storm that came through, and it just goes to show you all these. You know, all of this electric stuff that is, people are wanting to save the world and everything. I get it totally, but we don't have a strong enough infrastructure on our electric because this one storm came through, lasted about an hour, high winds, took out a lot of the city's power, and people were out for days. We were out. We lost power at like 4 p.m. on Friday, and we were without power until Sunday, I think, and some people were out until Monday, and we ran into some crews. They're doing a great job. They're working so hard. You know, you need to help, and you know, just let them access your yard or whatever so they can get that power back on for people, because you know, there's people that not, you know, it's an inconvenience for us, right? But there's people that need breathing machines, and there's elderly people that need their heating and cooling, especially right now and things. So we don't want to get in those people's way that are trying to fix our electric. Now, with that being said, a lot of trees fell and everything else. We've been getting a lot of phone calls. Of course, everybody jumps on, oh, my chimney. So let's talk about what happens if a storm damages your chimney, or you start getting a leak, or something odd happens, because that was like a typhoon that came through Kansas, which doesn't happen very often. But we were without power for a few days. I always say, well, kind of wish it would have happened when it was a little cooler outside, because then people, you know, remember, oh my gosh, I need some heat in my fireplace. That's what it's there for. Not only for enjoyment or supplemental heat, but if the power goes out, I need this fireplace to work. So that's a good reminder. Step one, make sure you have a fireplace checked. And we just had that big storm. You might not know if we have damage, if you have some storm damage, but it's a good time right now before the season to have it checked out. Make sure there's no storm damage. Make sure everything looks good and watertight, and there you go. But if you're not going to have a professional out, at least go out, take a good hard look, and see if you see any damage or anything. If you even notice any, then you need to call for an inspection. And inspections, we've talked about inspections before. You want a company to come out. You don't want to just have the immediate damage looked at. Like a lot of people will call and say, well, I can see the damage. I need an estimate for repair. Look, the big thing is there might be other damage in that system that you don't see with your eyes, so you want to have a professional inspection with a camera run up the inside, make sure everything's in good shape, because if it's not, then you know, whether one way or the other, we're going to give you a report with pictures in it, or your chimney sweep should be doing this. And that way you know, and then you can turn it into your insurance based on whatever the estimates are. You know, is it worth it? Do you have other stuff you need to bundle in with the house, other damage, things like that? But it's good to have it checked out, good to contact your insurance, take lots of pictures, and then of course, you know, get the company out. Of course, everybody's going to be pretty booked up and pretty busy, so if you can get a tarp over something. But if you do tarp something, you want to make sure your furnace and water heater don't vent up through there. Obviously, you aren't using your furnace in 100-degree weather, but you are using your air conditioning and your water heater, and that's not good if you cover those up. And they can't breathe, they can't get the carbon monoxide out from the water heater, etc. So yeah, having that checked out is very, very obviously. A lot of people called us, and you know, a tree had fallen and hit their chimney and scattered it all around, and it's a pretty desperate situation. They need to get it covered up or what have you. That's a good time to call the insurance. A lot of insurance first. a lot of insurance companies have emergency teams that can get out there and at least cover it up. These contractors like ServPro and stuff. Now, a lot of those are probably a little backed up, so you're going to have to be a little patient because, you know, the whole city, it hit us at once. So there's kind of a process to it. But the biggest thing at the end of the day is go ahead and have this stuff checked. Have it checked. You know, look for damage, but of course it's a good idea to have it checked, and don't just have what you can see, you know, checked or get an estimate or whatever. You want a full report, and you want someone to check the inside and outside. And a free estimate does not check anything. All they're doing is, okay, you've got this damage, here's a price to fix it. It doesn't check, it's not an inspection, it's not a certificate of fireworthiness or anything like that, because it's very important. And let's say there's no damage, that's great. Well, at least now you know what shape it's in. So you have that backup source of heat if we lose power for days on end, because what if there was a snowstorm outside or what have you. So yeah, it's very, very important to have those items checked. I hope that your fireplace didn't have, or your chimney didn't have a lot of damage like we saw with a lot of stuff. Saw trees fell on cars and things like that. That also brings up another point, and we're not in the tree trimming business. You know, sometimes we have to trim a tree if it's hitting the chimney or touching the chimney. If you have trees, even if you back up to a creek and there's power lines back there over by my house, you need to have those trees and everything trimmed and keep them away, because that's what causes the power. These overhead lines, that's what causes a lot of the power to go out, because it causes damage when a tree falls on the line or what have you. But keep your trees trimmed so you don't have to deal with a tree falling on your car or on your house or on your chimney. What a horrible thing to have to go through and deal with. And trimming the trees is just like having your chimney inspected and cleaned every year. It's preventative maintenance. You know, it doesn't mean that you'll never have a problem. It doesn't mean that something won't malfunction or that a tree gets hit by lightning or splits or something like that. But it sure does reduce the occurrences and the likelihood of that happening. It's good insurance, it's good cheap insurance, and you're maintaining your house, and your house is a great investment, and it's where you live. And having those items checked and knowing what condition everything is the best route to go. I recall a story from last year. We had just put a chimney cap on top of a lady's chimney, and we had told her that, okay, your chimney cap was damaged, and it's most likely from this tree that's hanging over, and the wind hits it and everything else. Well, lo and behold, she replaces the cap, or we replace the cap for her, a nice, good, strong chimney cap. And we tell her when we install, hey, you know, just want to remind you, we put a disclaimer, you need to have this tree trimmed. And so anyways, of course, never fails. 2 weeks later, we get a horrible storm. And we get a phone call, and she said, that cap looks crooked up there. And we said, okay, well, we'll swing by when we're in the area. And one of our technicians swung by. Well, it wasn't crooked, it was smashed. And and we called her and said, hey, you know, I don't know if you had other damage or anything, but that storm, that tree that we had told you, you know, needs to be trimmed back, fell a huge branch, and the technician removed it off the roof or what have you. You know, we want to make sure that, you know, something didn't happen with our product or install, so we didn't charge her anything to swing by and take a look. But it went from, it looks crooked, to, no, actually it's smashed because this tree had fallen, and maybe she didn't have enough time to get it trimmed. Maybe it wasn't relevant to her or what have you. But she asked if the warranty covered that, because it should hold up to that. And I said, look, nothing holds up to a baseball bat being swung out of it, especially a chimney cap. I mean, they're very durable and stuff hits them all the time. But I mean, this branch was like a trunk. and luckily, the nice thing is the cap actually took all the brunt of the force. It didn't damage the chase top. It didn't damage her pipe sticking up. It didn't damage the roof. That cap actually saved her a lot of money, so it was well worth it. And she asked, well, does the warranty cover that? Of course it doesn't. That's an act of God, Mother Nature. Of course, it could have been prevented if the tree was trimmed back or what have you. But like I said, I don't know the whole story on it, so we won't speculate. But Anyways, the moral of the story is keep those trees trimmed, and it'll help with dire circumstances like this, where power goes out and the whole city's in chaos because we don't have our internet, and all these people with the electric cars probably couldn't charge their car and stuff. How inconvenient on that. But the whole reason it all leads back to is like I said, we've got an electric infrastructure that just can't hold up, and a lot of upgrades and stuff, and then so everything we can do as homeowners to help avoid that and do our one little part is so important. So this is the time of year to get outside, walk around the house, look around, see what you can do to do some maintaining of those areas. So not only you don't lose power, but also the neighbors and everything else. And if the neighbors do it, get involved. Go to your city planning stuff or your local neighborhood stuff and say, hey guys, don't become the local narc or the local person that drills on everybody, because not everybody might have the chance. Now, I had a great neighbor behind us when we first moved in. And we're young, and we just moved into this great dream house. We had 2 young kids. We needed a bigger space, needed a nice place we could send the kids. There's a beautiful school at the end of the street. And we had this big cottonwood tree, and I guess it was a nuisance to the entire neighborhood. The original owner wouldn't remove it or what have you. And I had a few neighbors come up, and they said, hey, it'd really be nice if you'd remove that tree. Well, okay, I get it. It's a nuisance, little cotton things getting everything, getting your air conditioning and everything. And I looked into it, and it was like $5,000 to remove this huge tree. And I get it. It was quite the task. Well, I didn't have $5,000. I just moved into this house and everything else, and and people were throwing stuff on me, but I knew it needed to be done. So started saving, and then a couple years later, we started saving up. A couple years later, the tree didn't need trimmed or anything. We had other stuff done, trees trimmed, got a quote every year when we had our trees trimmed and everything. And the price wasn't exactly going down, but a neighbor was talking to me, and he said, hey, you think you ever remove that tree? And I said, absolutely, I'm saving up for it right now. He said, well, how much do you have saved? And I said, well, I got about half of it saved. I mean, it takes a while to save up $5,000, especially when you're in your 20s and, running a business and got a family and everything. And he said, what did you get a quote for? I told him that. And he said, that seems a little high. I've got a tree guy that takes care of my trees. Let me get a quote from him, and let's see if we can maybe help you out on doing that. And this is how neighborly the person was, because he knows it was a nuisance to the neighborhood and everything. And look, I'm trying to be a good neighbor, but I just can't just write a check for that at the time. And so he came back to me and he goes, well, I've got my tree guy, and my tree guy can do it for a little less, and I will take the money that you've saved up and I'll pay the difference, and that'll take care of it all. What a great neighbor that was. And the nice thing was over the years and stuff, like I said, I've always tried to be a good neighbor and keeping things trimmed up. We haven't had any problems from our backyard on, and so that's a great thing. But it's just a matter of don't work with your neighbors. Hey, let them know stuff. Maybe they don't know some of this stuff. People are homeowners, not exactly that you get some owner's manual or whatever. And if you see some chimney damage on their chimney, pass our name along, and maybe they need to have it checked out, because for the amount of chimney sweeps and chimneys that are in every township, and not just Kansas City, there's no way the amount of chimney sweeps we have everywhere can check every single chimney out there at once. So it's good to have a good rolling deal going, so you can make sure you're getting it checked out at the right time of year, and it's ready to go for winter. So if the power goes out, talking about the power going out, obviously open fireplaces are great. Don't put off a lot of heat. Great to look at and everything. So if you are kind of a planner, because I saw people, of course, running out to get generators and everything after day 2, they start going crazy, and maybe their refrigerators are starting to defrost. We lost a lot of food, unfortunately, but it wasn't enough to worry about going and buying a $1,000 generator or whatever. And generators are great, but they can break down. So it's good to have a functioning fireplace. Better yet, you can use the fireplace year round. Better yet, getting a wood stove insert so you can maximize if you like to burn wood and get reclaim a lot more heat, more efficient system. Or even a gas direct vent insert, not a gas log set, not a vent-free gas log set. They aren't going to throw off anything. Open fireplace isn't going to throw off nearly the amount of heat as a heating unit would. So as some sort of an insert we slide in. We've got gas ones, and that's what we have at our house. And the nice thing is people go, well, are they going to work during the power outage? Well, electric doesn't work. Electricity, so you won't have a blower. But the wood stove still works. It just doesn't have the blower option unless you plug it into a generator or whatever, because that runs off electricity. But the cool thing about the gas units is most of them, with the gas units, most of them have a little battery backup pack that you can plug in if the power's out, and it'll cause the unit to come on. It just won't run the blower. The blower does take, a standard plug-in or what have you. So. Great little options. If you want to know more about it, give us a call, 913-236-7141. Shout out to everybody that attended today. I see you. I see Michael Stewart. I see Michael Reno. So you're telling me lung-vented logs don't throw out any heat. They don't. They've got a nice little place. It's vent-free is what he's talking about. And the reason he calls them lung-vented is because everybody worries about air quality. In fact, Amazon has this little air quality box I kind of want to get. And I kind of want to have it running in a room with vent-free gas logs. But basically, they're a gas log that burns a little bit more efficient. And so you can shut that damper down a little bit and try to reclaim that heat. But we're still dealing with this itty-bitty little gas log set in an open fireplace, and it doesn't have a blower. You're not supposed to add a fan or anything to them. A lot of regulations and stipulations. And at the end of the day, all the fumes are going out into the room. So it's kind of like when you were growing up. When I grew up, we had a gas range in our house, which is a pretty nice thing to have. But we didn't have an electric range, so we cooked on top of a gas range. And when the power would go out on the farm, my parents would light that gas range, a little blue flame, and there was kind of an odor. It's kind of hard to explain, but whenever you're smelling that stuff or whatever, you're breathing that stuff too. And it's probably not the best thing to use a lot, and definitely not the best thing to use as a heating appliance. They're mainly just for turn it on for a while, enjoy it, and then turn it off. Maybe take a little chill off in the immediate area if you're watching TV or something. But they will never outperform a nice gas insert, direct vent gas insert, which brings its own air from the outside and exhausts the bad stuff out, so it isn't using any of your tempered air in your house from your furnace or what have you. And they work great as backup heat sources. We've actually been able to stay in our house when the power goes out during the winter for several days before it becomes uncomfortable. Just because it's uncomfortable, just because it's inconvenient on everything else. But we got some heat because our fireplace has that in it. So anyways, get everything going. Let's see here. Michael wasn't aware of the air quality thing on Amazon. Yeah, I think it has. I think it's actually sold by Amazon. We do a lot of purchasing. You do too. Even for the business on Amazon, I use the app. If you need paper towels and stuff like that. And sometimes I look at the ads. I try not to, because you just start wanting stuff and spending money. But that air quality thing's kind of cool. It'd be a fun thing to check out. So Michael, get with me sometime if you want, and we'll buy one and try it out with a vent-free set of gas logs, see what it says. It'd be an interesting little experiment. Michael's one of our local chimney sweeps here with another company. Good guy. Let's see here. Noah, what's up? Jerry. Jerry should be on his podcast thing here pretty soon. Barbara, Doug Jones, Nicholas Martinez. I like all of it. Love it all. Thanks for attending today. Have a great weekend. I don't know what I'm supposed to do this weekend. I guess it'll be a surprise to me. So it's Fireplace Friday. We'll see you next week. Have a great weekend, everybody. Have your chimney checked.